Let's get back to work on the Firebird a little bit. I mentioned, I think in the last video, that I wanted to weld some washers to the steering wheel. So, before I completely run out of argon, I'm going to get that done real quick. And then sit in the car, push the buttons, pretend I'm a race car driver. And then probably get back to putting the engine back in the car because this is looking kind of pitiful. Oh, and then once we do that, we can lower the front a little bit. Yeah. Should we do that, Max? So, let's get this steering wheel ripped out of there real quick. Hey! Oh, hey, my retainers showed up, and I already tested them. They'll work perfect, so I can get the heads together. I do have some head gaskets showing up. I said, screw it, let's just do it the right way and throw some good head gaskets on it. And then I guess I'll probably, even though I really don't want to, pull the piston out and check the ring gap. But I know that I'm gonna have to go through and gap them. Dang it. Alright, so I want the buttons right here. Let's see. These can fit basically all the way down here in this little crevasse. So that's good. So, oops. So for the most part, I think probably like right there, just having this, shoot. I think just having this butted up against the sleeving there is probably the best play, just to make sure that there's enough room for everything. I think that'll probably work out pretty good. I think that's probably the play, honestly. Just send it there. Alright, all in all, not too bad. This one started to get a little warm just because at the end I was really screwing up. But I think once I scuff all this and fog it black real quick, I think it'll look pretty good. So I'm going to do that in a second. And then we'll throw it back in the car, slap the buttons in it, and then probably throw the, well, no. Probably pull a piston out and check the rings. And then I'll probably find out that it's way too tight for 20-25 psi, and then cry a little bit as I spend the rest of the day pulling out pistons and gapping rings. Got the steering wheel painted. It's out here in the sun drying. Yeah, it's not bad. Oh. Head gasket. Let's try to take this off very gently, because if I break it, I'm gonna be real upset. There we go. God, I wish I had pulled this head gasket off. This one is 25. Oh wow. Okay. That 25 was real sloppy. So here is, this should be 31. I'm gonna say that they're about 31, 32, because you can see that this one's 16 thousandths, this one's 15, so they're about 31, 32, or at least this one is. So I'm gonna go ahead, call that good enough, start throwing this thing back together, and then we'll get the pan on it, slap it back in the car, and then we'll start putting this thing back together, man. Alright, got the engine all bolted back in place. Got the turbo and everything bolted in. In a second, I'm going to put the new valve springs and everything on the heads. Can't put those on just yet because the head gaskets still aren't here. I don't know how well studding the water pump is going to work. In my mind, it makes it easier in the event I have to replace the water pump, because the way these motor plates are set up, if I have to unbolt them, the whole motor drops down like 1.5 inches. So theoretically, this makes it easier to service the water pump. I don't know how well it's actually going to work. We'll just have to kind of play that by ear. Hopefully it works though. There is tons of ground clearance now, which is great. I'll be able to put the front of the car about where I actually want it to sit. So I think right now I'm going to throw the steering wheel back in there real quick because the paint's all dry on that, and we'll get the buttons in and see how that looks. You know, I think all things considered, this turned out about as good as I could have hoped. They're not super far. I'm not having to like reach way over. They're right there. And then if I did decide to do the thing where I just pop it off, that actually kind of hurts the thumb to do. Maybe with gloves it wouldn't be so bad. I don't know, I'll have to play around with that a little bit. But it looks pretty good. It looks a whole lot more race car. Now I just gotta wire those up, wire up the bump box. Ugh. Alright, since we're pretty much done in there for a little while, I think it is now time we'll lift the car up, finish bolting up the transmission, bolt up the torque converter, get the starter back in there, and probably do the turbo drain. Got the turbo drain made, everything's looking good there, so the turbo's all set. Got the feed and drain done on that. And then something that I remembered that I forgot is this meth kit that I got from Justin Baker, Dr. Differential, that was supposed to go in James Brown initially, but James Brown is a badass street car, so he has a pretty decent sized intercooler. So we're gonna throw that on this because this is going straight into the intake. So this is something I've got to add onto the list. I was gonna say I'd let the Holly control this, but I don't think I'm gonna need to. and then this pump, you know, we'll find a spot for this thing too. And then aside from that, I think really the only things left that we're gonna try to tackle today is just getting the new springs on the heads and everything. And then we'll probably call it a day after that, because we've actually been pretty productive. Okay. right, got that head done. Just finished up these heads. And my goodness, there was a couple times it like popped off the compressor and I thought I was gonna lose a finger. But they are all in here. We're all good to go. So as soon as the head gaskets show up, I can get these bolted back on. And Betty White looks that much more like an actual race car again. So like I said, that's probably where we're gonna end it for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. We'll see you next time.